All right. Hi everyone. My name is Moses Sampal.
And I'm Giridhar.
We are going to talk about our community, which is mad about growth.
And growth on demand, which is the demand side, yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's important we have to understand what a community is.
Right.
Right. Because a lot of bullshit has been happening in the name of community, like everything else, be it Web3, be it blockchain. So the way we define community is it's a microcosm of an economy. Right. Which means it has to have a labor side, a capital side, and connecting these two things in the most efficient way possible, which is through productivity.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So if you have to break it down, then we are looking at skilling and providing certain amount of monetary or bringing in a project or gigs to that particular skill that is being developed.
Right. Okay. Perfect. And connecting these two things through processes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll break down each of those things now.
Okay.
Correct?
Right.
Okay. So I said mad about growth, which means on the skilling side, we essentially are a community of growth professionals. Now we have to define what growth is also.
Right.
Which
is a function of sales, marketing, and strategy, which will be working in tandem. So without all these three put together, the growth is not complete.
Correct.
Or rather, it will be having some kind of gaps or loopholes where it will not be a sustainable growth over a larger period of time.
We're talking about business growth.
For business growth,
Not
yes.
personal growth, not spiritual growth. We're
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
The business requires sales, marketing, and strategy. And I mean, of course, operations to make it, but like
Right.
product to sell, blah blah. But at the core, a growth team essentially consists of these three functions.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, if you are a growth professional, now let me ask this question. Right. So, if, where you go to consume content, where you go to get a certificate of sorts.
Right. Currently it is very scattered. Like if you ask me, I would have been going to an MBA, which is costing maybe $100,000 or $200,000 from a fancy university, or it will be maybe about $10,000 for about 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, which will not be, I mean, a paper which is worth about 5, 6 lakhs, which
Correct.
doesn't make sense. Because also we'll not be having a kind of an experience or anything which has been wetting or rather I'll not be able to gather so much of knowledge.
Okay. I mean, you will gain knowledge, but then it's stipulated to a specific time till that course gets over.
Right. So yeah, when we say knowledge, knowledge should also be validated. When I say validated by the markets.
Okay.
So
not academics.
not
validate.
not
Okay.
academic validated.
Not just academic validation.
Right, yeah. So today that's the problem that we have been seeing, right? A lot of people are graduating out of engineering colleges, out of MBA colleges, but then the market is not able to consume them.
Right.
Again, they're going back to the other
Training module. Yeah.
which doesn't make sense.
Correct.
So when we talk about it, we are talking about it being validated by the markets as well.
Okay. Fair enough. So also now there are like short courses that are available, but my thing is there's no continuous learning.
Right.
And that is in turn tied to continuous earning.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
At the core, if you remove the company that you're working for out of the equation, who are you as a person? You are a growth professional, right? Which means you have to keep on learning what's happening in the growth industry.
Right.
You have to keep on implementing it, so which means you're getting paid for those things, which currently could be the company that you're part of,
Right.
or it could be the freelance gigs that you're taking.
Correct. Right.
Our vision is essentially to take it to the next level, which is like no one is going to work full time.
Right.
Yeah. Every growth professional who comes in as part of a community gets put through a baseline of sort, right? So we know exactly where you stand in terms of sales, marketing, and strategy.
Right.
Right. Not necessarily everyone has to be good at all these three things. You can focus only on marketing, only on sales.
Right.
Okay. So how do we do that? The skilling system is something that we have.
Right. Yeah. So at least in the first half, the way we are looking at it is people are coming in as a member first.
Right.
So even if they do not want to be a part of the community, they can be a part of our community as a member, where they're just getting information of what is happening in the growth industry with respect to sales, marketing, and strategy. What are the new techniques that are coming out, and what are the new implementations that are happening, whether they are working or not. At least this will come in form of a newsletter where the members are just subscribing if they do not want to be actively participating in any projects or learning aspect.
Okay.
That's how they come in as a member. Okay, once they are onboarded as a member, the next task is to onboard them as a apprentice or a intern or a fellow.
Okay.
Okay, that is a base level.
Okay.
If you are an experienced person, then we'll do the baselining, and then whether they are at the partner level or an associate level, we can just take them to the conversation.
Okay.
But if at all you're looking at zero skill level, then you enter as an apprentice, and where they're spending about 2 months of time, and wherein they're learning and implementing something called as a growth engine program, which is written by Sam, the partner.
We'll change that. We have written that. Okay, that should be the narrative from now on. Okay.
Okay, so so once they go through the growth engine program, we have chapters 0 to 7, 1 to 8. That is,
we don't have to go that deep.
Okay.
So we just say, basically a skill system has multiple levels for us to get projects. So we said a community has the skilling side and getting projects.
Right.
Them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But once you get a project, how will you know which community member the project has to go through? Right?
Right.
Now, what level
Right.
a person should be so that they can go and work on that project.
Right.
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 So, for example, at sales you should be at level 5, and at marketing you should be at level 3,
Right.
and something like that.
Right.
You know, if that's the requirement from the customer.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's what we as a community are offering, right?
Right.
Like a skill system to basically validate the industry of growth professionals and giving them a rating, irrespective of what company you're working
Right.
for. Right. Doesn't matter.
Right.
You could be part of Facebook. You could be part of a traditional company. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Right. We are worried about is what level of growth professional you are, and
Right.
that's very important for a growth professional, because like you have to keep growing up.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the whole point of this.
Correct.
Right. So the more higher up the ladder that you go by putting in what now Girza was saying, which is either you're learning or you're working on projects or you're building the community.
Right.
Ideally, all three goes into ascertaining a person whether they are eligible to move to the next level or not.
Right.
Correct. So that kind of clarifies the skill system. Did I miss anything?
No, it covers everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now what Giza was saying was like nuances of that. In level 1, you would spend these many hours learning, these
Correct.
many hours
Yeah.
performing, these many hours building the community kind of thing.
Right.
And the interesting thing is every single hour that you put within the community is tokenized, which means you are eligible to earn tokens of a community. And the token is not some, intangible or non-fungible. Or it's not usable in the real world. It's like actually connected to the money.
Right.
The token system has a crypto value and it's pegged to the Indian rupee or USD as well. So which means the tokens are usable, not just within the community in real world. Like you can go sell the token that you get within the community, get Indian rupee or USD, and then you go and transact with the real world.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So there's incentive for you to put every single hour that you put within the community is incentivized through the token system that we have.
Yeah, yeah. And also you'll be getting incentivized even because of the learning as well. So that essentially helps you or will be kind of pushing you towards learning and updating yourself. Right. And also with respect to that particular learning being implemented, you do not need to go outside and start looking for projects by yourself. The community will be able to help you out in kind of sourcing the projects.
Yeah.
Right. So that will and also one thing that I suffered in the beginning days, right? Like I did not have a mentor or anyone. I went into a company which was very unstructured, and it was a mid-scale company. It was actually a small-scale company where I did not have so much of an kind of mentorship or anyone who could guide me.
Okay.
And maybe if that kind of guidance would have come through, maybe my learning process would have been faster. Right. So now if you are entering through as an apprentice or intern or fellow, you'll be able to get a chance to work with the partners and the senior partner level people who are actually working and performing in the industry.
Okay.
Right. And also obviously you'll be able to kind of gather more knowledge and all that jazz. Yeah.
Perfect.
So then you're entering through as an apprentice, and then second level, after you perform for X number of hours. Right now we're thinking about 100 hours, but then 175 into 2, but then we'll have to work around that. Once you complete that particular level, you will be moving in as a community builder.
We don't have to go into the levels now.
Okay.
We don't have to. The skill system is over.
Okay.
And we talked about token also to some extent.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
What ideally we should have started. This is like the future. So what we missed is what we have done in the past.
Okay.
As a community.
Okay, so we don't need to be the hierarchy of community manager, community group. Okay. Okay.
Not maybe to some extent because the autonomous part should come in, so
Right.
we'll quickly say that.
Right.
But,
So one more point is essentially we are tokenizing the whole system that basically eliminates all the biases that a lot of people are facing today, based on their gender, based on their age, based on like caste, religion, all the jazz is out of the window. And
if you perform, you go up the ladder.
That's it. And also, it can also be that you should be upskilling yourself in project management also. That kind of builds the gap or bridges the gap of getting people together and executing projects successfully. Right now, project managers are selected based on nepotism or any kind of friends and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So that also is kind of taken out. That is one
Nice.
problem that has been addressed.
And every single work that we do within the community is logged on blockchain, which means no one can question your work.
Yeah.
And like if someone is like, let's say there's also one possibility, which is like a higher skilled person who's supposed to validate my work don't like me.
Right.
Now, how will the community solve that?
Okay, so how will we solve that? We'll come to that. But then at least over here right now, it has already been shown that this particular work has been validated. And it could be validated by multiple people as well. That could be a chance.
Okay.
Right? Like, and also one more thing is, if at all a person doesn't like this particular individual, then the individual can challenge it, which can be vetted by the other community members. And obviously, because it is tokenized and all the governance rules are being set, if multiple people actually vote for that particular person, then it can be reversed.
Also, the token or the mining process happens at the end of the month during a community huddle, which means the community members are watching. So if you don't like me, you cannot say, no, fuck that, I can't validate your work.
Yeah.
Right? So it's transparent. Yes. Okay, so one, your work is logged, and the second thing is it's being transparent, that the community is being part of the validation process as well, not just one person who is like, who you are reporting to.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's, I mean, like over a period of time that gets filtered out. If someone is like doing this on a consistent basis, like no one would want to be an apprentice for that particular person. So they get pulled down into the hierarchy. So the incentives are aligned in such a way that you are being an unbiased, objective person.
Right, very interesting. Because over there in level 6, that is from junior partner level till the managing partner level, we have brought in mentorship and coaching as one essential part of every partner who has to go up the level.
Yes. So for them, that's part of their performance.
Yes, that is part of the performance. So if their ratings are gone down, then they'll also be having, kind of a little bit of barrier to move. Yeah.
Performance improvement plan. We put you into the PIP.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me quickly summarize. Okay. So if you are a growth professional, the reason why you should join us is because your skill is growth. You're part of a company, which is good, or you're a freelancer, which is also good. But if you want to grow continuously as a person, and then you see a graph of you, right?
Yeah.
You start here, you have a per hour rate for you right now. You go up the ladder, you can increase your per hour rates. So it's in your own interest to continuously learn and perform and build a network around you, which is this community. So building the community per se, and every single part of that is incentivized.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So even if you don't get all these things, at a very simple level, you get to meet other growth professionals. You get to learn on a consistent basis, which is consistent, continuous learning, lifelong learning.
Right.
And there is consistent lifelong earning potential as well.
Right.
So these are the clear 3 value props of the community. Right. So if you're someone who is now trying to create your own personal brand around growth, it makes sense to join a community like this, because then you don't have to do all this on your own. Right. You have the support structure with you.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. And you're also interacting. So then everything else, you don't have to go out and find projects for yourself. Like this community that will take care of all these things.
Right. Yeah.
And there are different aspects that you can get involved in, right? You can get involved in creating small courses, creating small workshops, being part of the podcast setting process, inviting a speaker, vetting them, bringing them over here, recording it, distributing the thing. So that's a whole thing that you can take care of. You can write a book, we can help you with that. like I said, you can create courses. We can help you with that. Yeah, and you can just be a person who knows, like a lot of people who are looking for growth professionals. So you become a connector of sorts.
Right. Yeah.
So you become a connector of bringing in projects into the community, and you get like X% of the overall revenue of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so why would someone come to us and not go to something like McKinsey or BCG or any consulting company, or for that matter, any other agency?
One thing is like you mean to say the clients, right?
Yeah.
Clients.
Yeah. Why should they choose us?
Right. So one thing for sure is an agency or someone like McKinsey or any other consulting firms are on heavy retainer first of all, and they're all consulting agencies alone. They do not fulfill the point of execution.
Yeah, actually growing your thing.
Execution. And that's the same thing that we also faced initially, right? A lot of people come, they'll say that, okay, there's a plan, there's a strategy. Everyone is a strategist.
Everyone talks.
Everyone talks, yeah, everyone is a strategist.
No one wants to pick up the phone and make a cold call.
Nope. Yeah. So that's a comfort barrier that they don't have.
Yeah.
And since it is kind of proven within our community of who is kind of performing, we'll be able to allocate certain number of hours. And if they're not kind of performing, then you'll be able to replace them with other members.
Right.
And the community on behalf of the gig worker will take the responsibility of getting that project executed. Right? So that way we'll be positioned as a better alternative to a McKinsey or a...
Okay, so let me get this right. So what you're saying is, one, they're expensive and they're mostly at the talking level and not at execution level.
Yeah.
So expensive, not at execution, and the third thing is you don't get to choose who works on your project. It's like the company or the agency decides. Right? Oh, this person will work on it, and there's no way for you to know what is the skill level of that person.
Correct.
They'll say, well, this person will do the email marketing for you.
Right.
How will you know that person knows, like it's a creative person who can create like good email letters and whatnot. So that's the thing. But the downside of that, like you said, which I liked, which was, so the fear that you would have is, I give it to a freelancer and then the freelancer could abscond, right? Or the freelancer like now completes the project, or a bunch of freelancers. So in our case, because everything is logged on blockchain and there's incentives for them to do the work properly, you get to choose like, okay, so my project requires a level 3 salesperson, level 5 marketing person. And those kind of people will work on the project. You can interview them if you want before that. And so the validated skill level is a big thing. And like you correctly said, the community will take ownership of executing the project.
Yes.
It's not at the gig workers, owners to execute the project. The community will make sure the project gets executed.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because if that person leaves, or like if that person is not performing, we can bring in another person.
Another person, correct.
Okay. Now that is adding to one more point, which is the positive side of why someone should choose a community to execute their growth. Is if you have worked with any agency, you would know in the first 3 months things are good, right? Because I'm new, you're new, I get to understand your product, you get to understand me as a person, my thought process, my profession, blah blah. But then like 3 months down the line, you know, like the kind of content that I create, as an individual or as an agency, right? So the churn of people inside a project has to change for the content to become different, the content to be fresh, the content to have new types of creativity being involved in those things, right? So the staleness of working with an agency, that goes away.
Correct. Yes.
Right? It's not like I give you a report saying, boss, okay, your bounce rate has reduced, your click-through rate has increased, blah, blah. Like, all those things can happen when the churn is there.
Right.
Creation happens through creativity and then if your content is good, then that's the core. Your storytelling, right? You are telling a story about your product to the world, and through a community you get like this massive array of people.
And if you're looking at any specific skill set also, suppose you're talking about only inbound marketing, you can look at a resource or a like senior professional,
very high level like that,
who have actually worked in that specific domain, and you'll be able to bring them onto the particular project.
Very nice. So so you can see their learning, you can see their performance of the previous thing. It's not just rating, okay? That's the biggest difference. It's not like a star rating. I give Giridhar, you're rated 4 out of 5. It's not that. in our community, no one is being rated like out of 5 or anything. Everyone has a level.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
level is community validated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So,
Correct.
like, I can have 1,000 plus endorsements on LinkedIn, but I could still be a shitty person.
Correct. Yes.
In terms of the endorsement that I got, or
Right.
the skill that I got.
Correct,
right?
exactly. So that's the same. Actually, that was one of the problems that we faced when I was working with Easy Media. We onboarded one very, very senior professional who was a sales professional. And he came with a gamut of his experience, saying that I have 25 years of experience, and he worked for 1 year, and I had zero experience that time in advertising or marketing. All right, and he didn't close even 1 rupee of sales in the period of 1 year.
Perfect. So validated skill level is very important, because you cannot trust LinkedIn endorsement. You cannot trust Fiverr ratings or freelancer rating.
Right.
You cannot.
Yeah.
I can create fake accounts to give myself rating. I can create fake projects to give myself rating. That's the biggest thing, because from a platform perspective, if you think, let's say you are a freelancer, okay, and I'm a new person who is coming into freelancer, and I say, I will use my friend's profile to put a project that'll be given to me, and he's gonna give me 5 stars. Then another person. So all my friends are gonna put project. I didn't execute shit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but I got ratings. Okay, now why would the platform allow? Think about it. The platform would allow such a thing to happen because the transaction happens to the platform, and the platform takes the transaction fee out of that.
Right.
They don't care.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Correct. Yes.
Right? And you still, so the star rating is not the right way to go about choosing a talent.
Right.
It should be levels, and that should be backed by real work. That's in turn is validated by the community.
Right. Yeah. And it happens both the ways. The clients get evaluated by the community members, and the other way around.
That's a very good point, because the clients can also be shitty.
Exactly.
They won't pay you. If you're a
Yeah.
freelancer, I'm sure you must have faced this, right?
Exactly.
Right? You would give your thing, they'll say, it doesn't look good, change it.
Right.
Okay, you change it again. Change it again. How many such iterations are there? Okay. Maybe you have a process saying 2-3 iterations only.
Correct.
But the point is, like, if they decide to not pay you money, they can choose not to pay you money, because there are millions of freelancers out there.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So in our ecosystem, every client also gets a blockchain company profile. So if I don't pay you well, or I don't because everything is on smart contract.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Everything is on smart contract. And then we'll take some money and put it into escrow, so that safety is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Basically, it runs like a company, but then executed by the security of a company, but the
freedom of a freelancer.
Nimbleness of a freelancer, creativity of a freelancer, the fastness, the swiftness of a freelancer, all those things you get with the safety of a company.
Right. Yeah. Perfect.
Right? Okay. Okay, so one thing that we have missed is the past, like what we have done.
Right.
Just think about it. Let me see who's at the door.